Urdu Seekhiye. This is part 4 of our 6-part series dedicated to the nazm Ek Makda or Makhi, which means a spider and a fly. If you're joining us for the first time, please go back 3 episodes and start with part 1 of this nazm. Also, please keep in mind that each part comes with its own free handout. That means that there is a free PDF document for each part. Actually, there's a free handout for every single episode that we've recorded, available on our website. It contains the entire dialogue or poem or whatever topic that's being covered in the episode. This will be especially great if you want to learn how to read and write Urdu. The link to part 1 is available in the description, or you can go directly to www.urduseekhiye.com/e25. So let's begin. I'm once again joined by Amer, the creator of the podcast Urdu Dan. Those of you who enjoy Urdu poetry, I would definitely recommend following Urdu Dan on Instagram or YouTube. Okay, are you ready to start, Amer?
Yeah, absolutely. Assalamu alaikum. A happy new year to you all. And as Shireen mentioned, if you enjoy Urdu poetry, do check out my page on Instagram. It's urdu.dan. Before I share the first 4 lines from this part, let's quickly take a look at the last 2 lines from part 3, as the first 4 lines will make better sense afterwards. So the previous 2 lines were मेहमानों के आराम को हाजिर हैं बिछौने हर शख्स को सामा ये मयस्सर नहीं होता. This means that for the comfort of guests, there is bedding available. Not everyone is privileged enough to have such things. Basically, he's showing off that the luxurious items he has, not many have. In response, the makhi, the fly, starts to speak. So here are the first 4 lines for this part. मक्खी ने कहा खैर ये सब ठीक है लेकिन मैं आपके घर आऊं ये उम्मीद न रखना इन नर्म बिछौनों से खुदा मुझको बचाए सो जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उठ नहीं सकता.
I'm tempted to say va. Okay. So the first line, मक्खी ने कहा खैर, ये सब ठीक है लेकिन. Khair, I would say, is most equivalent to saying, well. Actually, I was thinking more about this, and I felt like khair can also mean anyway. Yeah?
हाँ खैर का ओरिजिनल मतलब तो well ही है but then you use it to connect two things ना खैर चलो by the way something of that sort.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, well, by the way, or anyway, any of those would work. So we should already know what makhi ne kaha means. It means the fly said. And what did she say? She said, khair, ye sab theek hai. Khair, ye sab theek hai. So, sab, as we just saw, means everything or all. Ye sab theek hai means all this is good. It's kind of like when we say, that's all well and good. That's exactly what's meant here. And we usually follow up the phrase, that's all well and good, with the word but. That's all well and good, but, and but is lekin. So, makhi ne kaha, khair, ye sab theek hai, lekin, that phrase means, the fly said, well, that's all well and good, but...
Exactly. खैर ये सब ठीक है लेकिन मैं आपके घर आऊं ये उम्मीद न रखना. Let's start with the word उम्मीद. Umeed means hope, expectation. Rakhna means to keep. When umeed is used with rakhna, that is umeed rakhna, it means to keep hope, or as we would say it in English, to have hope, or keep an expectation, which would in English mean have an expectation. The fly is telling the spider to have no expectations. And what expectation is she speaking of? The expectation of मैं आपके घर आऊं. आपके घर means your home. Ana, as we saw earlier, means to come. मैं आऊं means I come. So she's saying मैं आपके घर आऊं ये उम्मीद न रखना. This literally means that I come to your home, don't keep that expectation. What she means to say is, don't expect me to come to your home. So the 2 lines together in Urdu are, मक्खी ने कहा खैर ये सब ठीक है लेकिन मैं आपके घर आऊं ये उम्मीद न रखना.
And of course, that means the fly said, well, that's all well and good, but don't expect me to come to your home. And the next line is, In narm bichono se khuda mujhko bachaye. In narm bichono se khuda mujhko bachaye. So I'm glad that we're seeing some words repeated here. We should know what bichono means and what khuda means. Bichono means bedding, basically anything you lay out to sleep on or rest on. And khuda means God. It comes from Farsi. Bachana means to save. Of course, you can save money or you can save a life. In this case, we're talking about saving a life. Narm literally means soft, but here it means comfortable. So the fly is saying, In narm bichono se khuda mujhko bachaye. So can you guess what she's trying to say? She means, God save me from this comfortable bedding. And that's the literal translation. So in English, we use the word bedding and it is singular, but bichone isn't singular. So in narm bichone means these soft, comfortable items for resting. Basically, as she's talking to the spider, she's also speaking to herself or to God, asking that she may be spared from the temptation of wanting to check out his home. Because, of course, that could mean the end of her life. It appears that she hasn't yet fallen prey to his tactics. Basically, she's asking to be spared from such enticing comforts.
Exactly. Then she says, सो जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उठ नहीं सकता. सो जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उठ नहीं सकता. Sona means to sleep. So jana is a complex verb. So the root so and the verb jana together is used to express both conditional and future tenses. So jaye koi basically means if someone sleeps. So jaye is used for the third person, singular. So jaye koi in pe if someone sleeps on them. Phir ut nahi sakta. Utna means to get up. Sakna means to talk about ability. मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, मैं वो कर सकता हूँ. Sakna means to do something, to be able to do something. Nahi sakna means to not be able to do something. So, ut nahi sakta means isn't able to get up. All of it together, it would mean so jaye koi un pe, to phir ut nahi sakta. If someone sleeps on them, he wouldn't be able to get up. Again, this is not happening for real. She's currently talking about a hypothetical situation. It's similar to the idea we saw in part 2, where the fly says, जो आपकी सीढ़ी पे चढ़ा फिर नहीं उतरा. चढ़ जा and chad have a variation in them that the former is more polite.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I was thinking about why sojai was turned into a complex verb, but jardana wasn't. Then I thought, could we change the structure of this sentence to match the one in this part? And I was able to do so. So again, the sentence structure in this part is so jaye koi in pe to phir uth nahi sakta. So we can say chढ़ जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उतर नहीं सकता. चढ़ जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उतर नहीं सकता. And that means if someone climbs them, then they will not be able to come down. So both structures talk about a conditional state, something hypothetical.
Yeah, that's right. Very well explained, I would say. Let's take a look at both lines together. इन नर्म बिछौनों से खुदा मुझको बचाए, सो जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उठ नहीं सकता.
And that means God save or God protect me from this comfortable bedding. If someone sleeps on them, they won't get up. And of course, by this, she means they'll become the spider's lunch. That'll be the end of her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's look at the next 4 lines. मकड़े ने कहा दिल में सुनी बात जो उसकी, फांसूं इसे किस तरह ये कमबख्त है दाना. 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में, देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा. So the first line is, मकड़े ने कहा दिल में, सुनी बात जो उसकी. If you remember in part 2 of the series, the first line is, मक्खी ने सुनी बात जो मकड़े की तो बोली. These two lines are quite similar. Let's start with सुनी बात जो उसकी. Again, सुनना means to hear or listen. सुनी बात जो उसकी, upon hearing his or her words, मकड़े ने कहा दिल में. मकड़े ने कहा दिल में. Dil mein literally means in the heart. But when someone says something dil mein, that means they are thinking that thought to themselves in their mind. Makre ne kaha dil mein would mean the spider said to himself. And फिर वो कहते हैं, सुनी बात जो उसकी. The spider said to himself upon hearing her words. As you can see, due to this being poetry, the word order is kind of changed. But if you had to say it in Urdu properly, you would say, उसकी बात सुन के मकड़े ने दिल में ये कहा. उसकी बात सुन के मकड़े ने दिल में ये कहा. So even in English you would say, upon hearing her words, the spider said to himself.
Yes. Let's see what he said to himself. He said, "Pasu ise kis tarah ye kambakht hai dana." If you recall, in an earlier line, the fly used the word nadan, and Amir had explained what nadan meant and where it came from. Do you mind explaining it again, Amir?
Yeah, actually, dana or the word danai means intelligence or wisdom. Dana means someone who is intelligent or wise, and usually when you make words in Farsi, like the negative words, you add the prefix na. So dana becomes nadan, unwise. Like in English we use un, right?
Exactly.
Wise and unwise.
Yeah.
So in Farsi it's dana and nadan.
Okay. So let's go back to pasu. Pasu is actually an archaic way to say pasaung, which is what we would say today to express the same idea. So let's just step back for a second. So the infinitive for pasaung is pasana, which means to trap. If I wanted to ask myself the question, how do I trap him or how do I trap her? In everyday Urdu, I'd say, kaise pasaung ise? Kaise pasaung ise? The word tara is usually paired with is or kis, as it is in this poem. So is tara means in this way, and kis tara means in which way. So pasaung ise kis tara, word by word, means trap her in which way. But he's asking, in which way do I trap her? Or how do I trap her? Okay, so that was pasung or pasaung ise kis tarah. Then he says, ye kambakht hai dana. You use the word kambakht to talk about anything or anyone that causes you frustration. So sometimes people stub their toe on some badly placed item, maybe a coffee table or something. So if I want to say, in Urdu, this damn thing, it always comes in the way, I would say, ye kambakht hamesha beech mein aata hai. Ye kambakht hamesha beech mein aata hai. So damn thing would take the place of kambakht here.
So let me just add something there. Kambakht literally means less fortunate, and it originally was used for people, but now it's also used for things. So you could say कि if your car isn't moving, you would say कि ये kambakht गाड़ी चलती ही नहीं है. But then I just added this so that we could be clear. कि kambakht, if used as a noun, would be for a person.
But so, okay, if kambakht means less fortunate, I feel like that's almost a positive thing, whereas I'm describing it as, something negative, like, oh, I'm frustrated with this thing or person. But I feel that he's less fortunate. Like, Am I almost pitying this person? Why?
You are not
Okay.
pitying, you're just kambakht, less fortunate, and also less fortunate for you as well.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
see. It's this idea of, oh, just my luck. Like, damn, why me? That kind of context.
yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to the next word, we just heard dana means wise or knowing. So he's thinking to himself, how do I trap this damned fly? She's clever. He here is our to be verb, and it can either come before dana or after dana. Ye kambakht hai dana or ye kambakht dana hai. Although I've never used dana to express that someone is clever. My mom usually uses the word hoshyar. Ye badi hoshyar hai. Is there a specific word you use for clever, Amir?
Yeah, from where I come from, it's usually said like ये बहुत तेज है. He's very smart or something of that sort. If dana were to
Yeah.
be used generally, like even when I read the poem, I thought it was they were talking about a seed or something because a dana means also means a seed.
That's right.
So dana is, I would say, it's more more flowery language.
But dana also is almost more positive, whereas tez it has a negative connotation, right? Like chalak or
That is correct. That
okay.
is correct.
Okay. But I think there was one other word you had used when we were talking about this earlier. I really liked it.
Okay.
Samajdar. Samajdar.
समझदार.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
has a positive connotation. Samajdar is intelligent, but it can also be clever, but it's a very positive description.
Yeah, like all these words, samajhdar, aqlmand, hoshiyar, they're nearly synonymous, but they have their little nuances. So tez has a little bit of a conniving nuance sometimes. होशियार can also mean that कि ये बहुत होशियार है, like
Mhm.
he's really smart. So होशियार would become smart, and Dana would be wise, I would say,
Okay,
and
so perhaps
समझदार would be intelligent.
okay. Okay. So yeah, maybe Dana is in a category of its own, whereas everything else that we're but so maybe then I shouldn't say clever. Maybe I should say wise.
Yes, you should. You should.
All right, I'll be sure to make that change in the handout. So Dana means wise, not clever. All right.
Okay, so the next line is 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में. Let's start with the most difficult word here, khushamad. Khushamad means flattery.
Right, and to break it down to simple terms, I like to think of it as sucking up. We do it all the time to a certain degree, and when we're the object of khushamad, we all give in to a certain degree.
Yeah, true that. Let's look at nikalte next. The word nikalte comes from the verb nikalna, and nikalna means to leave or to come out of. It could also mean results in, as it does here. So he says, 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं. Literally, this means 100 works come out of flattery. What he means to say is, so much benefit comes from flattery. He must be used to sucking up to others and gets his way by sucking up to others, and that's why he's saying this. And he says, 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में. Jahan or Jahan is another way of saying the world. Normally we use dunya. So the full sentence then is 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में. This means so much benefit comes from flattery in this world.
One thing I want to mention about gam means work or task, and often you will see this word paired with ho gaya. So if you say to someone, काम हो गया, that means the task has been completed. The job got done. So if you think of it in terms of tasks, 100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं. It means so many tasks are able to be completed due to flattery. His sucking up gets a lot done.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move to the last line for this episode. देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा. देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा. देखो comes from देखना, which means to look or to see. जिसे here means whomever. And finally, we see our word for the world. देखो जिसे दुनिया में. I think you can guess what that means. देखो जिसे दुनिया में means whomever you see in the world. Let's complete the line. देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा. देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा. We know what खुशामद means. Ka means of. So खुशामद का means of flattery. Banda means person. It's a very informal way of saying person.
So before you finish explaining what खुशामद का है बंदा means, I want to try and guess what it means. First, let's say this phrase how I would say it. I'd say, दुनिया में जिसे भी देखो, खुशामद का बंदा है. Assuming I knew what it meant. So this is what I think it means. Whomever you look at in this world, they fall prey to flattery, meaning they easily become the victim of flattery. They're easily manipulated by flowery words. So this could either mean everyone is easily manipulated by flattery, or does it mean that they crave flattery? They crave it. So whomever you see seeks flattery. Basically, everyone you come across wants to be praised. They want to hear good things about themselves. So which is it?
I think it's both because
Oh,
every person, what he's trying to say is, जिसको भी देखो खुशामद का बंदा है कि ऐसा he's such a person on whom खुशामद works, and it's easier to do खुशामद and get your way with it. So that is, I think, what is meant. जिसको भी देखो खुशामद का है
so
बंदा.
that means...
You're right. You were.
So, I mean, I'm not right then, because, I mean, okay, yeah, kushamat works. Okay, so that means they're the victim of, or they're
Yeah,
easily
they
manipulated.
easily
Okay, so
manipulated.
first
They
one.
fall prey to
Okay.
flattery. Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. But they're not necessarily seeking it, or, I mean...
Well, that would be a logical a conclusion of because they're seeking it. That is why they fall prey to it, right?
So true. Okay, fine. You're right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Basically, you could say that दुनिया में जो बंदा है, everybody is self-obsessed, and they like उनको तारीफ पसंद है. खुशामद का है बंदा कह सकते हैं, बंदे को तारीफ पसंद है.
Exactly. Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode. If you've been with us since part 1, thank you very much. And if you've been with us since episode 1, well, thank you even more. Before we go, I thought it might be useful to hear the whole poem so far. So, here we go.
एक मकड़ा और मक्खी. एक दिन किसी मक्खी से ये कहने लगा मकड़ा,
One day, to some fly, the spider said,
इस राह से होता है गुजर रोज तुम्हारा,
You cross this path daily,
लेकिन मेरी कुटिया की न जागी कभी किस्मत.
but my hut's luck has never awakened, or my hut has never been lucky enough.
भूले से कभी तुमने यहाँ पाँव न रखा.
You haven't even by mistake set foot here.
गैरों से न मिलिए तो कोई बात नहीं है.
Not meeting with strangers, that's fine.
अपनों से मगर चाहिए यूं खिंच के न रहना.
But with those close to you, you shouldn't stay so distant.
आओ जो मेरे घर में तो इज्जत है ये मेरी.
It would be an honor if you were to come to my home.
वो सामने सीढ़ी है जो मंजूर हो आना.
There in front of you is the ladder. Come if you please.
मक्खी ने सुनी बात जो मकड़े की तो बोली,
Upon hearing the spider's words, she said,
हजरत किसी नादान को दीजिएगा ये धोखा।
Sir, go trick someone naive.
इस जाल में मक्खी कभी आने की नहीं है।
In this trap, a fly will not be trapped.
जो आपकी सीढ़ी पे चढ़ा फिर नहीं उतरा।
The one who climbs your ladder does not come down.
मकड़े ने कहा, वाह फरेबी मुझे समझे।
The spider said, Wow, you think me a cheater?
तुम सा कोई नादान जमाने में ना होगा।
No one could exist as naive as you.
मंजूर तुम्हारी मुझे खातिर थी वगरना।
I was only looking out for you. Otherwise,
कुछ फायदा अपना तो मेरा इसमें नहीं था।
there was no benefit for me in this.
उड़ती हुई आई हो खुदा जाने कहाँ से।
You've come flying from God knows where.
ठहरो जो मेरे घर में तो है इसमें बुरा क्या।
Staying in my home, what's the harm in this?
इस घर में कई तुमको दिखाने की हैं चीजें।
In this home, there are many things to show you.
बाहर से नजर आता है छोटी सी एक कुटिया।
From the outside, this home appears like a small hut.
लटके हुए दरवाजों पे बारीक हैं पर्दे।
The curtains hanging on the doors are thin.
दीवारों को आईनों से है मैंने सजाया।
I've decorated the walls with mirrors.
मेहमानों के आराम को हाजिर हैं बिछौने।
For the comfort of guests, bedding is available.
हर शख्स को सामा ये मयस्सर नहीं होता।
Not everyone has such things available. Or, not everyone is fortunate enough to have such things.
मक्खी ने कहा, खैर ये सब ठीक है लेकिन।
The fly said, That's all well and good, but
मैं आपके घर आऊं ये उम्मीद न रखना।
don't expect me to come to your home.
इन नर्म बिछौनों से खुदा मुझको बचाए।
May God protect me from such soft bedding.
सो जाए कोई इन पे तो फिर उठ नहीं सकता।
Once someone sleeps upon them, then they don't get up.
मकड़े ने कहा दिल में सुनी बात जो उसकी।
The spider said to himself upon hearing her,
फांसूं इसे किस तरह ये कमबख्त है दाना।
How shall I trap her? The damn fly is wise.
100 काम खुशामद से निकलते हैं जहां में।
Hundreds of tasks are accomplished through flattery.
देखो जिसे दुनिया में खुशामद का है बंदा।
Whomever you see in this world falls prey to flattery. All right, that was fun. That's where we end. We're not going to complete the entire poem. You'll just have to tune in for the rest of it. All right, so again, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone who you think might benefit. Also, if you're interested in improving your reading or writing skills, you might benefit from our YouTube channel, where we post lessons on writing, grammar, and so much more. Also, if you're a more advanced student of Urdu, you'd definitely benefit from checking out Urdu Dan. The link can be found in the description.
Yeah, I would add that you don't have to be an advanced student. If you just like listening to Urdu, you can come over to my channel.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yes. Thank you again, and until next time.
आप लोग अपना ख्याल रखिए।
Khuda Hafiz.